Good morning, good afternoon. It will depend on the time that you are joining the course. Today we are going to focus on factor. So last video we have seen a route on vector, and then now we are going to focus on the factor. What is factor? So we really want to understand what is the meaning of factor. So what it means when we are saying a factor. So today we are going to look much on factor. So what is a factor? So if we say a factor, most of the time it will be applicable when you are trying to make the SUMO data transformation. Let's say, for example, if we have the categorical, it is going to be applied for the sense of when we are having a categorical value, and then we need to make it like a number, since we really need to use it, because we will need to transform the categorical into numeric, like a binary operation. When it comes to the modeling, something like that, we will see it when when we reach to the advanced level, where we will do some models like regression models. We will see that we will need it. So the factor, what it means, the factor variable represent the categories or groups in your data. So it is going to represent the categorical numbers like gender, region, education, marital status. In which way? So there is a time where we will need to make the model where maybe gender is acting like independent variable. So at that time, we need to say, instead of having male and female, let's take one and represent the male, and female represent by 2, something like that. So from that kind of things, or from that kind of situations, that's where we will also need to make the factor. So we are trying to show you how we can create the vector. So if we have the factor, so if we are creating the factor on a variable, so we used to say that we have the factor here called, like, we are creating the factor. We use the factor function when we are creating the factor. So by that time, let's create the gender, because we cannot calculate the vector without having categorical variables. So we have to have the categorical variables before, and here we are trying to create the categorical variable called gender, where we say rep, and then replicating male and female. This is going to be replicated into 4 times, and then we are generating the gender number 1, which is also factor. We are making gender factor variable. Levels are ordered alphabetical from 1 up to 2. So gender number 2, we are changing orders, like we are telling the other that look for the factor, and then levels, we are trying to start from male and female, which means that what we are trying to do, we are trying to transform the categorical into numeric, but we are trying to say that one is going to be male and another is going to be female. That's what we are doing. So we are assigning them names to the numerical values. What we are doing here in previous video, we was like interested to tell other that we are ready now. So we need to change, or we need to make some transformations about the factor and genders. Those are kind of things that we was like telling other. Be prepared that we are going to transform the categorical into factor, but now we are trying to assign the values that we really want to be appear as a numbers. So let's say, for example, if the level of factor variable are numbers, you can assign the names corresponding to these numbers. For example, you may have the factor variable gender having level 1 and 2, representing a male and female. That's what I'm trying to show you, the way we can do it. So you can also change, sometimes you can have the numbers like, which is numerical, like 1 and 2, and also you are interested to say that instead of having 1 and 2, I can say 1 is going to be male and 2 is going to be female. As vice versa, there is a time where you will find that instead of having male, let's say male is going to be 1 and female is going to be 2. So when we are dealing with factor, that's what we are trying to see. Not always to be male, but also it can be on the case of education level. So you will see that sometimes you have secondary, primary, tertiary, university, those kind of things. And then you say that I'm no longer interested on it because it will depend on the test. It will depend on the task that you are going to perform. Most of the time we will meet with that case when we are talking about inferential statistics, doing modeling, doing testing, doing those advanced statistical models. That's where we will need to play with character variables or the categorical variables with factor. So you see that this is important course, and this is also the serious kind of things that we need to take into consideration when it comes to the manipulating the data to the way we want. So here it was an example. We generate the gender, which is called 1 2 1 2 1 2, which is in a real sense, if they ask you what is if I have a variable called gender and then I will see the output like 1 2 something like that, for me I'm not going to know 1 what is representing and 2 what is representing. But for you, because it is your responsibility to know it, once you are doing analysis, maybe you record it for the sake of analysis, but you are no longer interested to have it like the way it is here. So you have also to tell the other that where I have 1, let's say for example put male, where I have to put female, something like that. So that's what we are trying to see. So these are the main numerical factors. So by the first time, if I'm going to change it like into male and female, what I need to do, I need to generate this like the way it is, and then I need to tell other that change it as a factor. So if I say that factor and then I put gender, it is going to look for the values I have, 1 and 2. And now it says that these numbers that I'm saying, it is 1 2 3, but it is on level 2, like 1 and 2. After making it a factor, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take those levels. I type the levels bracket equal numeric, and then I equalize with the male and female. What it means, so you see I have levels 1 and 2, and I type the levels and then I put the numerical factor, the levels of numerical factor. That is the name of my object I have already created, and then it is equal to where I started by female. It means that 1 is going to be male and 2 is going to be female, the way it is. So if I started by female and male, it means that 1 is going to be female and 2 is going to be male. So that's what it means. So from here, if I run, I will get male, female, male, female, male, male, female, something like that. Also the way we have it, male, female, male, female, male, female, male, something like that. So if you come to the result we have seen here, so this one, okay, if you come to the result we have seen here, you see that it's going to be the same. So and the levels also, it is male and female. So using is dot factor and is as dot factor function. So the function is dot factor. We are trying to check if the given vector is factor or not. You see, we are trying to see if it is factor. If we say is dot factor, the other programming is going to print true if it is a factor, or if it is not, is going to give us false. And when we are using as dot factor, so we are trying to convert. Let's say we have categorical variables or the categorical vector, and then we are interested to transform it into factor so that we can do some manipulations. And then we have seen that the manipulations that we can do to the factor level, it is when we say that the variable is going to be factor. Of course, this is the sense of either numerical or categorical. We are saying that maybe we have male and female and we no longer need it. We are going to have it as 1 and 2. And then sometimes we have seen that we have numbers like 2 and 1. but we need to label it like the variable labels. So those who are using other programming or other software like Stata for statistical analysis, we used to have things which is called label define. We are labeling our data. So the factor, it played the role of making a label define. That's what I can say in a simple way. So here also it is, if I say is dot factor, I didn't change my gender. This is a gender, it is a numerical vector. But if I say is dot factor, I'm going to get false because I didn't convert it into factor. And then we have seen that when we are trying to convert it into vector or factor, we use the function called factor and then bracket, put the index that, or the vector that we interested to change it. So that's what we are doing. But if I say, I can also use factor or as dot factor. So if I say gender equal as dot factor, then I put gender. I'm making gender as factor. So once I check this again, I'm going to get it true. So because it is now becoming factor. So you can also make calculations with factor. So you can do also summarize, like summary statistic, and also you can do tapry. The tapry function, we are trying to make like specific calculations. Let's say if we use tapry, I'm trying to calculate maybe the mean, the mode. I have to specify one of the statistical stuff that I'm interested to find when I'm using tapry function, and also some summarize at the same time. Let's say I have a gender, I make it as numeric, as a factor. Once I print, I'm going to get the values and also the levels. This is also I'm making levels to be labeled, something like that. And then if let's say I have an income, I want to calculate mean and summary of each group. Let's say, for example, I have sum of gender, tapry. You see, if I use tapry, I'm trying to calculate the average mean of gender based on income, but also the sum. I'm trying to, sorry, not mean. So here I have income variable and then I have a gender, but I'm trying to see the total among. In the gender, I have a male and female, but I need to see the total of it. So what I'm going to see the male and its total, and I'm going to see the female and his total. Sorry, her total, not his total. So mean, it is the same. The function tapry, that's what it means. That's what it helps us. To help us to calculate something based on categorizing. We are categorizing it based on statistical way. And you see now we are starting doing analysis seriously. So this is also income variable, and this is a gender. And I want mean for each category. So not always to have a gender, you can also have like education level, and then you need to see the average income for each education level. So you will have income here and also put education level once you need to do it. But for us, we have a gender here, and then I put mean. So I'm going to get mean. So if I say summarize gender, you see, those are something that we need to do. So again, we can also calculate the frequency table for factor variable and cross tabulation for factor variable. So frequency table, or let's say for example, if we say frequency table, we are trying to see the repetitiveness of categorical stuff. So frequency table, it is mostly popular for the categorical variables. So we use the function called table. So when we are trying to look for the frequency table distribution, so the function table can be used to get the frequency table for single factor variable, and it can also be used to find the cross tabulation. Cross tabulation, we are trying to look for two variables, looking for the intersections between two variables. So let's say, for example, I need to know gender and education level. How many males that is in primary, how many males that in secondary. That's what we call one of the applications of cross tabulation, two-factor variables, so, or even two categorical variables. So here we have a region we are generating a variable called the region, rural, urban, something like that. And then I have to make region as a factor. You can use factor and then put region, or you can use as dot factor. So it is the same. So if I say, this is an example that I was telling you. So gender was already converted into factor. That's why I didn't do it again. I guess we have done it on this side here. You see, we have done it on this side here. So, and then, so this is also as, sorry, this is one as dot factor. I think that's what we have done here. And then, so if I say table and then I put the name of the variable, I'm going to get male. We have 4 males and 3 females. That is the frequency table. And also I can do cross tabulation to see how many males that is rural, that how many males that is in urban, since we have the region of rural and urban, something like that. You see, in rural area, I have a 3 male, I have a 1 female. Those are also the cross tabulation thing that we can do for the factor variable. So which means when we are trying to do the explanatory data analysis, we will see how we can do those kind of things, but also how we can add the percentage, we will see it. So in a conclusion, before we go to the practical side, the factor, it is the data structure in R used to store the categorical data. So it contains the set of levels which represent the possible categories and values that is indicate which category each observation belongs to. The factor also can store a character or numerical code, but are treated as categorical variables. So even though they can store 1 and 2, those numbers that I was talking, but in reality, the factor are treated as categorical variables. But we are using a factor when we are interested to do the label defining, label values. That's what I'm talking. If I say label defining, I have 1 and 2, but I need it to be represented as a female or male, or I have female and male, but I need it to be representing a 1 and 2, those kind of things. That's what I'm trying to say. So they are also created using the factor function. As we have seen, you can use factor function or as dot factor. So those are things we need to see, and factor are essential in statistical modeling, as I was saying, and also the data analysis, as R automatically handle them correctly in a function, such as regression, summarizing, visualization. So we will meet with the some applications of a factor. So what I ask you, it's like to take this course as much as you can, so that it's going to be easier for us. So let's jump to the applications of the factor. So as I said, the purpose of this, it's the introduction to factor in R programming. So we are going to focus on factor creation, type, levels, ordering, converting, and also the practical exercise. As I said, the factor, it is a categorical data type in R used to represent qualitative data or categorical data. Factor store categories and their levels. So what factor do? It is store categories and also their levels. So without taking much time, we are going to look for the practical exercise. So we are trying our best so that we can see where we can apply the factor. So we are trying to generate the variable called gender. You see that is a categorical, male, female, something like that. So once I run this variable like this one, you see by default this is character. I'm trying to check for, you see here, as I said, we can add the comment. This is character. We are checking the data type, by using a class, by using data type. So by using class function, you see, if I do this, I'm going to get character, you see. So now I'm trying to convert to factor. I'm trying to convert gender into factor so that I can also do Sharman transformation. So gender factor, we have seen that you can use as dot factor or you can use fact. It can work. It will depend on the way you prefer to do it. So you see, uh, because I already did it as factor, see what I'm getting. I get male, female, something, and the levels, it is a male and female. So if I check the class, you see it is no longer character, it is now factor. You see now, this is another type, this is another data type we have seen, but which is specific to the converting categorical into numeric or into something like that when you are dealing with it. So the levels also. So as we represent, as we have seen the levels, it is female and male. For us, we need to say that instead of having maybe female and male, we can also say that we need to have one and two. That's where we will use the functions that we have run called levels, this one, and then levels, and then we put the gender factor, this one, and then we put equal. We say, we can also say this one, concatenate 1 and 2. And this is going to be also working. You see, if I do this and then I print gender again, what I'm going to see, you see, what I'm going to see those kind of things. You see what I'm doing, but which is not, which is our case of today. So I'm going to keep the way it is. Okay, so look at this. We are trying to see this one. And one of the things that I was forgetting to show you, you see here on part of environment, everything that we are generating here, everything that we are generating are going to be stored on environment. So what it means, everything that I have here in environments means that it is in a memory of other programming. So what I'm generating as a new is going to be stored here. So to look for what I have done from the way I started to using ARA, you can go also on history. On history, that's where I have every code I have run from since I started using ARA today. We started on, of course, we started on factor. So we started on vector, and this is what we have seen on vector. You see, this is what we have seen on vector. It is on history, everything that we have done. And this is also environment. It is stored for everything that we have. So let's continue to the levels. We are making a level, something like that. If I do here, I'm counting the frequency. So to count the frequency, of course, we are using the table function. This is the formula that is going to help us to get the frequency table. If I run this, you see I have a female 3 and male which is equal to 2. Also order versus an ordered factor. So this is what I'm trying to see. So again, so okay. So, and then here we are trying to make ordered factor where we are trying to look for the education level. We have high school, bachelor, something like that. Okay, that is one of another categorical we can do. What we have to do, we can create as a factor. And you see we have bachelor, high school, master's, and PhD. And you can also look for the levels. This is also the levels. And then from here we can create the ordered factor. So the ordered factor is going to give us what you see. So the ordered factor, we are going to look for the some comparisons. You see, interesting, the high school is also greater than it is also bachelor is greater than high school, master's is greater than something, PhD is greater than something, and it is going to make the ordered factor based on the way or you ordered those kind of things. You see, the way I ordered this, so R is going to understand it in that sense and then help me to say that this is also greater, this is also race, something like that. That is what we call the ordered factor. But what you need to do is just like factor, put the name of the variable, the categorical variable that you need to uh, change as a factor, and then you add levels the way you want to be look like, and then you add comma, you close the bracket as the way it is, then you add the comma, not always to have it like this, but also you can remove this unnecessary space as here. So not always to have this like this one. So you see, once I run, you see the result is going to come. And here we are creating factor from scratch. You have the color, as I told you, you see the way it is going to be look like. And here I'm ordering the size. I'm repeating the same exercise on ordering the factor. It's going to see the small or high, something like that. So I'm trying to repeat the ordered something so that you can see how it's going to be calculated. So you see the size factor not defined. So I didn't do this. So the size is not, I was expecting to start on this one. You see now it is working. So we are converting factor and other type as dot character. This is a character also. I was having gender as a factor, and now from here I can train this gender factor as dot character. So if I say as dot character, it means that I'm trying to change, I'm trying to convert the gender into categorical, those kind of things. Those are what we have to do. So if I say as dot character, it means that I'm taking gender and then convert it into character. So factor to the numeric, use the levels first. As dot numeric, so means that I want to tell the other that go and look for that factor that I was having. Instead of having still as a factor, you can also change it as numeric. So that's what I'm trying to do. So as dot numeric, as dot character at the same time. So this is also character to the numeric, character to factor, the way we have done it. And also here we are renaming the factor level. We see we are changing factor level name. We have levels, fluid factor, A, B, C, something like that. And then we can also make like some summary statistics on summary functions for factor. Frequency table, we use table. If we say, if we need to see the summary education ordered, you see summary and tables also is going to give us the same, like high school is 1, bachelor is 2, masters is 1, PhD is 1, and n levels, you see number of levels. We have 3 levels on factor. Number of levels, we use the function like n levels. And then from here also levels, we can see if we want to see the levels of this something, we have to use the levels, and then we put the name of the variable, the factor in data frame. This I'm not going to cover this since we are not seeing what we call the data frame, so we will see it on the data frame. But if we say the data frame as we have seen it, the data frame, it's like the data set, so we used to have. So the data set in real life, it is also the data frame. Data frame, it's like combinations of more than one data type that is aligned together and is ordered in terms of row and column. So the columns, it is what we call the variables we normally know in real life. The question is that we are asking so that we can get the data, and the rows, it is the observations of the people that are responding to us. So by giving you an example to see the difference between the rows and the columns, because the data frame, it is structured in terms of row and a column as we have seen. So you see we have name, gender, and grade. So for the name, this is the variable. Those are the questions, the name, gender, and grade. So those results that we are seeing here, like Aris, Bobo, Chari, something female, those are the observations. And the error, it is not going to note that is observation. The error is going to note as rows. The error is going to note as rows, since we are dealing with the data frame. And the variables, or those questions that was asking so that we can get result, it is what we call, it is what we are going to observe as the column heads. So if I create this object, you see, once I print the student, you see what I'm receiving. I'm getting the names. These are also the columns, and the observations, those are the rows. Those are also the rows. So from here, I can also see the structure, those kind of things, we will see it. And from here, I can assess the factor, something like that. You see, those are also the practical exercise. I want you to do this practical exercise so that it will help you to run a lot. And I have tried to put the answers. Don't copy answers and paste. Try to do the same so that you can see if you get the same result. And this is an example of creating ordered factor for the survey satisfaction. So that's what I'm trying to show you. I want you to follow those kind of things so that you can do much better. So I hope you enjoyed the session. So let's meet to the next session where we are going to focus on functions and the group. So thank you once again for following this course. I hope you learn a lot. See you next.